All right. Hello and welcome, everybody, to another episode of Subject. This week, or this episode, I should say, rather, we're going to be talking about, again, about the outbreak, coronavirus. We're going to be talking about this for a while, I feel like.
Yeah, but this is just going to be the start of the episode.
Yeah. We have got some more lighthearted things. We've got we've done a Watch Mojo. We've got a top 10 list of movies about isolation.
But this is going to be completely different to Watch Mojo.
Exactly, because we're instead of going from 10 to 1, we're going 1 to 10.
Yes, it's completely original.
It's completely
Never been
original.
done before.
This is pioneering,
like
in listicles right now. Dude,
I don't think I've ever seen this done anywhere throughout history.
this is basically we're going to score these movies out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So 10 out of 10 being the best,
the best,
the absolute best movie to watch in isolation.
1 out of 10
isolation.
being, well, you made it to the top 10.
You
I
made
guess
it
is
to the
what
top 10,
is pretty
yeah.
good. You know,
It's like congratulations.
yeah, well done, well done.
Yeah, well done. Stick around for that if you're wanting a little bit of lightheartedness in this episode. Otherwise, you can just skip to the
Just
fucking
skip
end
ahead
if you're going to
just
be lazy.
Go for it. Like, honestly, if you don't want to hear this, too bad. Sit and listen to it anyway.
Listen to it anyway. You have no choice at this point.
But if you have to, you can just skip ahead.
You can just skip ahead. Do whatever the hell pleases you, man. I don't care. But we're going to start out by, like I said, talking about our government, their response to the outbreak, and why it's taken them so long to respond.
Yep.
But first, I guess we got to introduce ourselves. I'm Chris. I'm joined by Mike.
Yes. Hello.
We have both been affected by this coronavirus outbreak, because you being in the film industry and the hospitality industry, mainly being in hospitality because I'm like a one-trick bitch.
Yeah, I got the double whammy. Both industries got slapped hard.
You got the double whammy. No films, no restaurant work.
No, just
So-
gotta. I don't know.
We just gotta wait it
Just
out.
gotta either wait it out or look for a job in essential work.
Yeah, and I mean, essential work being retail workers and construction workers, I think, and some government officials.
Yeah,
That's what we classify as
well,
essential.
I mean, like that we could probably get into. Like, there's the essential workers, like all the hospital staff and
I mean, I don't particularly want to go back into a supermarket chain. I've already worked for a multinational supermarket, and that was not fun.
Yeah, I'm willing to wait this out. Hopefully,
I think wait this out. Hopefully, I mean, you're still waiting on government assistance.
oh, yeah.
I just got mine like a week or two ago, so
Yeah, it's been rough.
It's rougher for you. For
no
sure.
income since returning from Japan, which was, pretty expensive to a degree.
Yeah.
So it's been like I'm really glad that I had those savings that
Yeah,
that-
exactly.
that, the government's saying now's the time to spend.
during a
live.
pandemic. Yeah, exactly. And also, I've had people coming up and talking to me about the way that Scott Morrison looks now. He looks like a pretty tired man at the moment. Like I saw,
Tired.
I'm tired of his shit as well. In all seriousness, though, I saw an interview that he did not too long ago. I think more like a press conference or something.
Mm-hmm.
But he did look tired. He looked stressed, and I think that's just because now he's understanding what his job entails. I think for the first time,
doing something.
he's realizing that he's got to run a country.
He's actually got to do something. That isn't just going to Hawaii and hanging out with the boys.
Yes, or bringing a cricket team over to his Sydney mansion and having them play backyard cricket with him. Because that's definitely essential work.
Oh yeah. As long as they got paid for it, I guess.
As long as they got
kind of
paid.
counts.
I'm sure they got paid. Anyway, we're gonna talk about some stuff. Mike, do you have any questions for me? Because I've right in front of me now. I've got a couple of pages of research that I've done.
So Chris wants to have a little talk about
I wanna have a
ScoMo's, I guess, basically what he's done during this pandemic and, how it contributes to the economy and how it doesn't, because the fact that most things that he has done is minimalistic compared to either every other country.
Well, I mean, I've got a quote here from a gentleman named Bill Boutle, who's a professor at University of New South Wales. He's a professor of strategic health policy. So he's the guy that we should be talking to, or at least one of the guys that we should be talking to regarding an outbreak of this proportion, seeing as though this is the biggest outbreak since the Spanish flu. So this is a big thing that we should be talking to him about. And him and WHO, the World Health Organization, both warned Scott Morrison about the risks. Well, the article was written on that I'm quoting is written on the 21st of March this year, and it said that 12 weeks had passed since Scott Morrison had been informed about the dangers of coronavirus and how it could spread very quickly, which brings it back to January, thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
Scotty Boy has known about the virus and its dangers since January, and the quote from Mr. Bill Boutle said as much, but also said that Scott and the government in general did not accumulate test kits or the necessary emergency equipment. We haven't seen a public education campaign. They've given no funding to science, to research. There's been no money gone to the International Vaccine Institute or to the World Health Organization. And to sum it up, he just says basically that they diligently did not do anything useful, which I think it's a pretty good quote to to say about the Liberal government. I mean, in 75 years, they've diligently done nothing for a lot of the time.
Yep.
So it's worrying because they're now, according to The Guardian last month, they said that the death rate from coronavirus is going to increase from 1% to potentially 4%, which is double what the World Health Organization has said that the mortality rate of this virus is, which I find quite concerning.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, the government has promised 100,000 more test kits by late March. We're recording this in mid-April.
Yeah, so those that should have already arrived by now.
They should have already arrived. We should have already got the 100,000 test kits, and we've probably already used them because it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, like to really think about, the population of Australia, right? You're looking at a few million here. 100,000 is what, maybe
1%.
1%, if that.
So 1% of the population for I think Australia so far sits at 26 million people in residence or visiting or whatever they're doing. There's about 26 million people here.
And these tests, I'm not 100% sure what the kind of guidelines are to what qualifies you to be able to be tested, because I mean, do you just have to have a cough, a fever, and then boom, you're tested? But you could literally just have like the flu.
Well, funnily enough, the ABC article that I was reading saying that there were going to be 100,000 more test kits has said it's not going to be enough because the kits have already been rationed, which is very concerning. Like, we shouldn't have to ration test kits for this virus.
Yeah.
It's not something that you really should ration, because some people can go out and be asymptomatic, show no symptoms of coronavirus or cold or flu or anything like that, but be carriers of the disease. They can carry it but not be affected by it.
Yep.
There's also people that will just have a cold,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to waste 3 or 4 test kits on this one person trying to figure it out. I mean, they say rationing, but it's not clear as to how far they're going with rationing.
And the people who are affected by the disease, it's a lot of people who are actually affected may even fall short of being able to get a test because of this rationing that they're doing. Yeah. So it kind of plays on itself in the sense, like, we've ordered in so many, to test so many,
Hmm.
but we're going to ration it so only little can really get it.
Yeah, so there's only going to be a certain percentage of hospitals that are going to get these test kits, which I'm hoping is going to be all the hospitals are going to get the test kits, but they're going to get such a small amount, it's going to be almost inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And obviously these test kits are running at a premium right now, so everybody's wanting them. There's a low supply, there's high demand of this. This could be something that we run out of. I'm not trying to hit everybody's panic button there, but
No.
it's something to be concerned about for sure. And the fact that our infection rate is yet to peak, it's yet to find the plateau, so to speak, where it just flattens out, where we are actually so flattening the curve.
Yeah,
so
flattening the curve is what most people would refer to.
Yeah, so we're yet to do that.
Yeah.
So infection rates are yet to stop happening, and we're yet to see the other side of that.
In Queensland, they are starting to find that there are less people becoming infected daily. That they've been able to confirm case. There are confirmed cases.
In Queensland and in a couple of other states, I think the Northern Territory and maybe Western Australia, the less populated states are seeing the curve flattening, but in a whole, Australia is still climbing because we've got Sydney, our most populated city in the country. It's suffering quite badly.
Yeah, you're still seeing people who are, who have been forced into quarantine by the government. These people are actually, leaving their homes still.
It's a self-imposed quarantine, which I think is bollocks.
Well, it's enforced to the point where the police will come to your house and see if you are home or not. Not that, like, to be honest, we were forced into quarantine. Never had a cop rock up at the door, even though I was kind of hoping that they would, because that kind of helps to enforce the measures that they're showing. That they are going to people's houses. It
shows initiative and it shows that the government actually wants to put this under control. But in saying that, man, like I found a Daily Mail article from the UK.
Yep.
Written on the 14th of March this year, saying that Scott Morrison actually delayed the ban on large gatherings under the impression that he was going to let a Hillsong conference happen over the weekend and then enforce it the next day. Which, I mean, I want to say that sounds sus to me, because the Sydney Hillsong Convention Centre can hold up to 3,300 people, and I'm not sure how many people attended that Hillsong conference. I'm hoping that the smarter people in Sydney took a go and went, hang on, no, we shouldn't be doing this, and skipped out on that. So I'm hoping that 3,300 people weren't there, and it was a lot less.
Yep.
But at the same time, the article still said thousands of people. So I'm thinking like a couple of thousand people showed up to that conference on the weekend. Maybe that's why we've seen a spike in Sydney infection rates, at least. I don't know about any other states, but it's very concerning for me, to see the inaction, like my good mate Bill said, the diligence of doing nothing useful.
Yeah, it's trying
concerning.
It's having a face but with no body. It's like saying, look, these are the things that we're doing, but in the end, it's not really doing anything.
It's just a facade.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're going to be doing this stuff. We're going to be doing this stuff. But after this major event happens,
exactly.
then we're going to get onto it. And actually, touching back onto the test kits going to hospitals, the number of patients coming in to hospitals is concerning, so much so that, again, in March, this time on the 18th, there's an article saying that we are running out of ICU beds with ventilators.
Yeah.
Which, again, is very concerning. Like, the plan with the Liberal government was to pull funding out of the hospitals, a total of $57 billion over the course of 10 years, from 2014. And that's crazy. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money being siphoned out of the public health system, which we could have used right now.
Yeah,
Because
like
we're 6
imagine
years
the
on.
beds that could have produced over 10 years.
Exactly.
All these public hospitals.
Like we have in our public system, we have 2,229 ICU beds with ventilators, fully kitted out to help people. But for 6 years, the public health system has had money siphoned out of their budget.
Yep.
So that number has decreased since 2014. And in that 6 years, man, we could have had those beds to help people. We could have had that funding.
Yeah, even throughout those 6 years, people who, when the hospitals do become overfilled with people, just having those beds, even the last couple of years, there could have been people who missed out, could have had,
life-saving care.
treatment that they needed.
Yeah. Which I find really, really concerning. And in this article that I'm talking about, it's from medium.com. Now, that doesn't sound like a reputable news source, but they've given me some pretty good numbers. And they said, look, if we had a 5%, worst case scenario, 5% of patients that contract COVID-19 are going to be in a critical state, there's going to be about 44,500 people. There's not going to be enough beds for those people needing that care. So this article predicted that we were going to run out of beds on the 6th to the 7th of April, where we're recording this on the 15th. And I haven't heard anything about us running out of beds, but we probably would have run out by now. The worst case scenario.
Exactly.
I don't know if we're in the worst case scenario. It doesn't seem like we're at the worst case scenario. So I understand with a few days being, or like an extra week or so, where we're slowing the rate of infection very slowly, but it's still happening.
It potentially could have been a lot worse. If so, it could still become worse.
Definitely.
The infection rate could still spike, and then what?
Then we're out of beds.
Then we're out of beds, and then what happens when you need that kind of treatment? What happens to you?
Exactly. Do you just get tossed out? Do you get put in another ward? Do you get turned away and said, look, no, we can't.
They can't put you in. They can't put these patients in every single ward, because what about the patients on all these other wards who are already on life-saving treatment that can't afford to catch this because they will die?
Yeah, exactly. Like they're already in a vulnerable state, and this could make it so much worse if they get infected.
Exactly.
So they've got to have a whole other ward separate to the hospital to just say, coronavirus cases, you go there. But it's very concerning, and I love the people that are saying, oh, Scott Morrison's doing the best he can. He's a prime minister facing a lot of hardship. That is true. Like, we are facing a lot of hardship, but at the same time, he's not doing the best he can in my opinion, specifically because of the funding cuts to the hospitals that I just spoke about, but also during the bushfires, which were only a couple months before, or still going on when Scott Morrison was warned about coronavirus.
Yeah.
So he was potentially facing two crises at the same time. Didn't really do much to try and stem either one, because on the 22nd of November, the Sydney Morning Herald had published an article saying that the government is going to spend $2.9 billion, that's billion with a B, by the way,
Yep.
On a light rail in Sydney that was going to be 12.8 k's long. Like,
So instead of taking that money, throwing it into the Royal Fire Brigade, to save homes, save lives, save animals, we're gonna throw it in the construction of a light rail that will.
I'm yet to get to the most interesting. Well, I say interesting, but I'm going to say, for the clickbait, the most shocking fact about this article is that in 12.8 Ks, they're going to spend $226,562,500 per kilometre of rail. I mean, that shocked silence speaks for itself, really. Like, that's very concerning to me. It's very concerning.
And you know what? That's your taxpayers' money right there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're paying for.
That's taxpayer money that is going to a light rail in Sydney. And again, in November, there was another article posted by The Big Smoke, who is an independent news source.
We'll also leave links to all these.
We will be leaving links to all of
if you want
these.
to check them out.
Definitely check them out. Definitely read them. Some of them you might need a subscription for. I didn't have a subscription to any online mail, but we'll leave a bunch of links in the description of this video if you're listening on YouTube, or we'll try and link the things on Podbean as well. By the way, we've got some more platforms.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a bit.
We found some nice platforms now, which is pretty good.
Found some nice platforms. So if you want to be updated on the latest episodes, hit us up on podbean.com. Our URL is subject.podbean.com.
Also find us on Facebook as well.
Find us on Facebook, Subject Podcast.
Yeah, we'll be uploading onto Facebook as well.
Onto Facebook, onto YouTube as well, I believe. We'll be making a YouTube channel, which will probably just be called Subject Podcast again. Like, we're trying to keep it simple here.
Trying to keep it pretty easy.
Follow us on any avenue that you want to follow us on, and we'll be sweet.
And also feel free to leave any comments on the things that we talk about as well.
Yeah.
Especially on these topics that, they concern all of us Australians here.
Yeah, leave us some feedback, give us some comments, tell us we're wrong. Like, fuck it. If you think we're wrong, tell us we're wrong. We'll send you the links to how you're wrong. Anyway, back to the topic that we were talking about. I believe this is public knowledge that earlier than the bushfires, before they all sort of broke out and became uncontrollable, unprecedented bushfires, 23 former fire and safety chiefs wrote a letter to Scott Morrison warning him about the increase in catastrophic fire danger. This was back in July of 2019.
So this was a couple months before it really started getting bad.
Couple months before basically the entire country was on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is, I want to say that they're kind of psychic in saying, look, this is shit that's going to go down.
It's just years of experience and knowledge, and ScoMo was like, yep, you know what? I'm going to go on holiday. Fuck you.
No, that's not the only thing he did. He also cut the New South Wales Fire and Rescue funding by 35% in July. So that same month, he cut their funding by more because they warned him. Does that... then that sounds corrupt, man. That sounds very corrupt to me.
It just sounds like they're just taking money where they can. And even then, they can't take the money from there, because that just shows that, as soon as you take money from something as, necessary as that, the whole country just bursts into flames.
The entire
Everything falls
country.
apart.
There was like 400 to 500 separate fires burning all over the country. And we had to bring in firefighters from Canada, from the US, from New Zealand. There were some firefighters coming over from Europe as well. Like, these guys are coming into a completely unknown climate, a completely unknown area, and they're risking their lives for us. So, I mean, thank you to everybody that was a firefighter during that time. We all appreciate your service and the shit you had to go through.
Yeah, everyone that came from overseas, from Canada, America, and everywhere.
All over the world, people came over, and to them I say thank you very much for your service.
That kind of support is amazing.
Yeah, that kind of support was really heartwarming to see. I found I was like, fuck yeah, we're sort of banding together. Fuck the people in power. We're going to send people from that want to volunteer to do this sort of
volunteers.
stuff. And that's
thing.
the key thing. It was volunteers, and they weren't getting paid for those months that they were out of work, off fighting fires.
Exactly.
And disgusting thing was that Scott Morrison said that they wanted to be there.
Yeah.
There's
I mean, to a point, I could say yes, they wanted to be there, but they wanted to be there for to help
to help. So
to
we
support.
should.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, they want to be here, so we're not gonna compensate. We're not gonna do anything for them.
Yeah, they're like the whole thing, like in World War II, the soldiers that fought for our freedom that we have right now, they volunteered as well. A lot of them volunteered. They wanted to be over there, but they got food, shelter, and money to their families to help them through this difficult time. Whereas, skip to 2019, our firefighters got nothing, which I find really disgusting. But that's just my opinion. This is coming from somebody that, look, I didn't fight the fires. I wasn't volunteering. I was close to a couple of fires.
Yeah, you had a fire pop up not far from your house.
There was a couple of fires pop up. There was one just northeast of us where we are.
We actually drove past it the other day.
We did. Yeah. There was one out. That was the one out west of us.
Yeah. Just basically this whole forest, just black trees.
It's
even
still
now,
like that.
it's you can see the devastation.
Like you can see the some of the regrowth that's happening. You see bits and pieces of green popping up here and there.
Yeah.
But mostly it's just black, brown, dead trees. Like they're burnt to a crisp, man. It's those fires were intense. They were fast spreading. They were insane. Like we had the smoke from these bushfires just covering the home. We had soot everywhere, man. Like
Yeah.
But man, you know what? I think that's enough time talking about some negative stuff. Let's have a bit of fun, shall we? Mike and I have compiled a list.
WatchSubject.com.
WatchSubject.com,
no,
exactly.
It's
Subjectmojo.com.
Yeah, whoa. It's completely original. It's
this is a completely original idea. We've come up with this on our own and not relied on any one source of media to influence our ideas.
But basically, it's a top 10 list of what we think are the best isolation movies for isolation.
For isolation.
While in isolation.
Exactly, man. It's Isolationception. It's not one of the movies that we got here.
No, we didn't. That's not really...
It's a shitty joke that I was saying. But anyway, I'll kick us off here. At number one.
So number one, which is
definitively the worst.
The worst of the top 10. So number one is the worst.
So we're starting off with number one because we think that there are better movies on this list. And this is purely subjective, subjective.
That's right. We went there.
We went there with that really bad joke. Anyway, I'm going to start off the list.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window.
Yeah, classic.
Man, classic.
Like, it's probably one of the first, like, real isolation films that was really made.
Yeah, and if you don't know the movie, it's professional photographer Jeff is stuck in his apartment recuperating from a broken leg. And that sucks. But
I haven't broken my leg.
You haven't broken your leg?
No.
Fuck you. Out of boredom, he begins to spy on his neighbours, comes across a shocking revelation.
I don't have to break my leg to spy on my neighbours, to be honest.
You do that on your own. What's over their face?
What? Hello?
Hello. Continuing on this list, though, one of your movies is up next. I'm a big fan of this movie.
Yeah, so number 2 out of 10, we have The Book of Eli.
Dude, good movie.
Now, this is... I don't know, I feel like it's quite underrated by a lot of people because I think
so too.
A lot of people have actually seen it. Like, it's very popular to a point, but a lot of the time when I ask people if they've seen it, they're like, no, I haven't seen it. So, basically, post-apocalyptic tale in which a lone man fights his way across America in order to protect the sacred book that holds the secrets to saving mankind. Which, spoiler alert, is the Bible.
It's the Bible in Braille.
In Braille, exactly. He's blind.
And all you need to know is that Eli, who's the main character, obviously, because it's his book, is played by Denzel Washington, and he kicks ass throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, he kicks a lot of ass.
I really like this movie for the action sequences. I think they're really well filmed.
Oh yeah, like the fight scenes in it are really good. But the whole thing isn't just action. There's a lot of drama in it as well.
There is a lot of drama and character development. I really like the dynamic between Eli and his young protege he picks up.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't spoil any more of the movie. Go watch it yourself.
I mean, other than the ending, but we won't spoil any more of the movie.
You just spoiled the ending.
To be fair, the movie came out 10 years ago. You should have seen it by now.
I mean, if you haven't, go watch it. If you have seen it, go watch it again. It's a sick movie.
Oh, that's great. It's a great one to go back to.
Number 3 on our list is a movie that I think a lot of people have watched because it's quite a popular movie. It's won a couple of awards. It's Castaway.
Castaway.
With Tom Hanks.
If you haven't seen Castaway, then you must be on the island with him.
Yeah. Have you been living on that island?
Yeah, you must still be on that island.
You must still be on there.
I don't know how you're listening to this.
And if you haven't seen it, if you don't know what it's about, after a deadly plane crash, Chuck Nolan, not Chuck Norris, Chuck Nolan finds himself marooned on a desolate island. With no way to escape, Chuck must find a way to survive in his new home.
Wilson!
That's all you need to know about the movie.
That's a great movie, though.
It's a fucking good movie.
I mean, most films with Tom
Hanks.
With Tom Hanks, yeah, like they're all really good.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just his voice, like in Toy Story, I still think he's a great actor.
And to be fair, Saving Mr. Banks, when he played Walt Disney, nailed it. And dude was pretty good. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
He's a very talented thespian.
That's good.
I believe.
So number 4?
Number 4 is one of my favourite films on this list.
I love this film too. We've got The Shining.
Shining.
Now, hold on to your hats, guys, because you've probably seen this movie referenced in almost every pop culture film or like adult TV show. You know, the references from this movie are insane.
I mean, there's a lot of references from The Shining that are all over the place.
So the synopsis for this film is: a family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific forebodings from both past and future. So a recent film that came out is Dr. Sleep.
Yes, which is supposed to be a
sequel. So the main character, Ewan McGregor's character, has the ability they call The Shining, which is the ability to basically see into the future, see into the past, see spirits, all that kind of stuff. And this is like, I'm pretty sure it's Nick Nolte. Well, probably one of his best performances easily in The Shining. It's like it's the one with with the axe at the door. Here's Johnny.
So Jack Nicholson played that role so well. I really enjoyed it.
You got the what is it, the finger, his imaginary friend is his finger. I can't remember. But anyway, it's brilliant. I have to go back and watch it.
Brilliant. If you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, watch it again.
Yeah, these we're gonna say that a lot here. These are all great films that you should all just.
These are all really, really cool films that we think you guys should just watch. Occupy your time in isolation.
By watching other people in isolation.
Yeah, by watching other people be isolated. You
feel better about yourself.
In worse situations than your current one. This is like, it could be worse.
It could be worse. Here's how.
Here's how. Speaking of worse, at number 5, we've got a movie that you suggested, actually, which I hadn't seen, to be honest. This is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yes.
John Goodman.
After an accident, Michelle, who is the main character, finds herself in a bunker with Howard, a stranger who informs her that she is safe with him and the world outside is uninhabitable. Left dazed, she decides to escape.
Big mistake.
Big mistake, but got Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Michelle, John Goodman as Howard. It's got Bradley Cooper in it, man. I mean, there's some big names.
It's really good. It's a psychological thriller. It kind of plays on bit of Stockholm syndrome, but at the
Hmm.
same time, it goes from 0 to 100 very quickly.
Very quickly.
It's a sequel to Cloverfield. I'm pretty sure the original was just Cloverfield, and then they did the Cloverfield Paradox, which was the Netflix series, which I tried to watch, but it was pretty garbage. Basically, just about aliens that invade Earth, and she narrowly escapes the start of the invasion, and then they basically live in the bunker with John Goodman, and then she doesn't quite believe him about the danger, so she tries to escape, but he just tries to keep her in to keep her safe, but it kind of goes really dark because there's a little bit more behind it than just that. But amazing film, worth every second of a watch.
All right. Well, that's definitely a good description, I think, of it. At number 6,
Number 6, we have Alien.
Alien, the original
Like
Alien.
yeah. You know,
Dude, in space, no one can hear you scream.
Ooh.
That is terrifying tagline, which I think encapsulates the movie quite well.
I mean, that Alien series is so well known now. You know, everyone knows about them. And then you got like AVP, you got the Predators. You know, it's all these movies are just coming together. But if you haven't seen Alien, I highly recommend you watch it, and I'll slap you in the face because I don't understand how you haven't seen it yet, unless you've just turned 16. Although I probably wouldn't advise people watching it any younger than 16.
It is quite gory at times.
Yeah, it's
It's pretty brutal.
it's really good though. Sigourney Weaver, well,
Sigourney Weaver, John Hurt.
brilliant. Yeah, John Hurt, exactly.
He's always good.
But the synopsis for this one: so after a space merchant vessel receives an unknown transmission as a distress call, one of the crew is attacked by a mysterious life form, and they soon realize that its life cycle has merely begun. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the video game Alien Isolation was based off of the first movie. It's like a sequel a few years after the original Alien, but it's under the same premise that there's one alien on this ship and it's almost indestructible.
It's
And
pretty much indestructible.
Essentially, throughout the movie of Alien, you basically feel like Ripley is just unable to get rid of this alien. Like she can't damage it. It's
Basically
going
just
around
picks them all off one by one.
one by one. It's and it skulks
Brutal.
around. It's in space. They're completely isolated from humanity. So it's a pretty scary premise. I
Yeah,
think.
it's great.
I think it's great.
All
as
right,
well.
so number 7.
This one, you were really bragging. Not bragging. You were really talking this movie up because you love this movie.
It came out a few years ago, but if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Mostly because of the art style, the cinematography, the sound design, everything about it. I mean, you say Willem Dafoe, you say Robert Pattinson, boom. That should be enough for these kind of art house films.
It's called The Lighthouse. Is what we're getting at. It's about two lighthouse keepers, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. They try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. So this is set back before the turn of the last century, and
It really plays on your mind, this film. When I watched it, I was really encapsulated in it. It was hard to not be at the edge of my seat through almost the entire thing.
It's hard to pull yourself away.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Very, very intense movie by the sound of it.
Yeah, it's very intense.
Very intense.
There's maybe like a few bits of comedy in it, but that's like to help lighten some of the tension, but the whole thing is just you're at the edge of your seat. You know, you're in it. You know, you want to know what happens next, and at the end, you're like, just that exhale. You're like,
It's just the payoff.
the whole
at the
ride.
end. It's
Yeah.
just, oh man.
You're like, what?
All right,
All right.
moving on.
Moving on.
We're getting into the top 3 now.
Yeah, top 3?
Top 3. This is the top 3. We just
Top
went
3.
past Lighthouse. Number 8
Yes.
is
Top 3.
yeah,
The Martian.
The Martian.
Yes.
This movie I found really interesting
I
because
found this movie hilarious.
they got a lot of the science right in this movie, which I find really awesome. But anyway, you're talking about it.
Yeah, so The Martian, his astronaut becomes stranded on Mars after his team assume that he is dead. And he must rely on his ingenuity to find a way to signal Earth that he's still alive. So basically, the film is about Matt Damon's character being stuck on Mars by himself, having to survive by growing potatoes, growing anything he can to consume. He's got to build all these solar farms to help power it, to keep oxygen going. It's amazing. Like, a lot of the science behind it, like you said, is on point. And then they got to spend years sending a craft back to pick him up and retrieve him.
I think it's a really interesting movie. Like I said, for the science. If you are really into space exploration, a lot of this stuff is probably kind of the adversity that we're going to face if we are wanting to send the human population beyond just planet Earth.
Yeah.
If we're wanting to go further, obviously the Martians set on Mars. Even if we want to go further than that, I think it's a really good movie to watch if you're thinking about that sort of thing. And
yeah, I mean, like, I found it. There are definitely serious moments in it that are quite intense, but I found that there was a lot of humor to it, which helped push the story along, and it helped.
I think it helped humanize.
Yeah, it did.
Matt Damon's character a lot, because it's basically just him the entire movie. So he's got a lot of time on screen where it's just him, or it's him talking to somebody on a screen. And
most Matt Damon films are just him being saved by people anyway.
Yeah. We don't talk about Saving Private Ryan, okay? All right, now we're into the top two, and I think we've got the top two nailed. I feel. At number 9, we've got The Life of Pi.
Life of Pi.
Life of Pi.
Beautiful film.
This is a beautifully made film. Goosebump inducing in the night scenes.
The night
where
scenes,
you see the bioluminescent.
Yeah, and the whale
fish.
comes up, and it's beautiful. First time I watched that was at the cinema in gold class. I was like, yes,
man.
Here we go. Amazing.
Dude,
that Dolby Atmos surround sound. Brilliant.
That would be good. If you haven't seen The Life of Pi, it's about Pi Patel and his family. They originally are going to start up a zoo, so they're transporting all these animals on a main ship. It gets caught in a storm, and Pi is left stranded on a lifeboat. But the thing is, he's with a tiger.
A tiger.
Tigress.
At the start, it's a tiger, a zebra, a monkey, and a hyena.
I think so. And then by the end of it, it's just him and the tiger. So a lot of the dynamic is between him and that tiger.
Yeah.
It says it here in the synopsis. He's finding a way to survive on a lifeboat that is adrift in the middle of nowhere. So he's in the middle of the Pacific, the Atlantic. We don't really know.
Yeah.
He's just in the middle of the ocean. His fight against the odds is heightened by the company of a hyena and a male Bengal tiger. So the Bengal tigers are huge motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They're the big daddy tigers.
And the film itself that I found, that I took from it anyway, was that it was all in search of, like, it's the search for God. Like, the whole thing is, at the end, is that he found that, God isn't there to help you get through everything. It was a very spiritual film. At the end, like, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, at the end of the film, when they're talking about, because Patel survives, obviously, and it's him telling his story to a reporter, and that's the whole film is basically a flashback of the story of what happened. At the end, he talks about God and, like, how he found God through all these troubled times and everything, and it was, I don't know, I found it quite beautiful, like, in that sense.
It is a beautifully made film.
Yeah.
I think most of it was done on green screen, but for a lot of the time you can't tell. The computer generated images are so crystal clear. They're so lifelike.
Yeah, they were amazing, and it was years ago when that film came out.
Beautiful film. Really, really would recommend watching.
But number 10.
But number 10, this is 10 out of 10.
This is 10 out of 10. This is the top big boy.
This is Big Daddy.
This is what
movie.
you all should be watching in your homes in isolation.
Oh yes, hit him with it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Wall-E.
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 Good one.
It's easily the best Disney's Pixar Wall-E
I think
2008 film.
this is the best isolation movie about isolation to watch in isolation.
All right, and if you haven't seen it, I mean, you've
God
had
help you
12
if you
years, so I don't know why you haven't seen it yet. But in the distant future, a small waste-collecting robot inadvertently embarks on a space journey that will ultimately decide the fate of mankind. Like that there alone.
That sounds epic.
That sounds like an epic adventure.
Sounds.
And to be fair, how long has he been in isolation? Like isolation meaning that he's been on a planet with no life for hundreds of years.
Well, he has got a cockroach buddy.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The cockroaches always survive the nuclear fallout. Like
Yeah.
they're going to be the ones to survive,
Most
the end of the
things.
world. Come on.
I mean, I think that WALL-E is again a really well made film. I really like the slapstick humor that Disney and Pixar put into their films to make the characters more relatable, especially to a younger audience.
Yeah.
Because like this is a serious issue that they were talking about, because for the human race to leave Earth in the film, they polluted the planet so badly that they just had to send everybody out on ships into the cosmos. Essentially, and
the only way to survive was to leave the planet and hope that in however long life will come back to the planet.
Yeah.
And then they'll be able to return.
And like that, the robots, Wally's line of robots were supposed to be there to clean up all the trash and sort of send it off.
Yeah.
But this is over the course of like several hundred years.
I mean, it's in isolation. You got to think about the robot too. His sentience is very minimal. All he knows is rubbish, and he's trying to make sense of the world around him or what it used to be, because the way that he collects all these little things in his own little house.
Collects all these trinkets.
Yeah,
and,
try and build
movies.
this world and try and understand it.
It's a lot of it, I think, is humanizing the robot, or robots, as I should say, because there are multiple robots once Wally actually makes it into space.
That's what Disney and Pixar do that a lot. They humanize a lot of these things.
They do, and I think they do it really well.
Yeah.
As well, which is always a nice thing. Like you think of BB-8 from the new Star Wars films.
Yeah, I mean, you can even think of like the horses from like Tangled and the horses from Mulan. They're humanized. They have a crazy personality. That's DreamWorks, isn't it? I don't think that's Disney.
Shit. Fuck. On that note, well, that does it for our top 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, or at least agree with us on some of these things.
Yeah, if you agree with any of our...
if we missed anything, we've got some honourable mentions.
Yes, we definitely have some honourable mentions.
Which is, one of them is Room.
Room was a great film. It's not to be mixed up with The Room.
Because The Room was that trashy. Oh, hi, Mark.
I did not hit her.
I did not.
I did not.
So many quotable lines for that movie.
It's not
that one.
No, this is
starring Brie Larson, isn't it?
Brie Larson, yeah.
Yeah, before she became Captain Marvel.
Exactly. It was probably one of her first big roles. I'm pretty sure she won Best Actress for it as well. It's amazing. And based on a true story as well, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to fact check that one.
Fact check us if you disagree. Give us some more information on these movies. If we missed anything, any fun facts that you've found out about these films that we've spoken about today, definitely let us know in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, or on Podbean as well, because we're being active. We try to read everything, all the comments that we can. Moving on though, we've got Buried.
Buried was good.
Buried was
it's intense film for something
very
that
intense.
You see very little of. You know what I mean?
Like for me, especially me being 6'5" tall, I find movies like Buried very claustrophobic, because I don't like being in small spaces, because I don't fit in small spaces. You know what I mean? I don't fit in those tiny little spaces, especially being buried, like the title of the movie suggests.
Especially about a guy who gets buried, 6 feet underground in a coffin.
Yeah.
And all he has is a phone and a lighter. Pretty sure he has a lighter.
Yeah, phone and a lighter.
Yeah. And he tries to contact like the police and all that, and they try and find him, and inevitably in the end, spoilers, they don't.
I don't find him.
Like they build you and build you through the whole film, and it's very intense. And you're always at the end of your seat.
That to me is terrifying. Just the prospect of one, being buried alive, and two, nobody being able to find you.
Yeah, that's the thing. To have hope that people may find you,
and then at the end having it taken away from you.
And
you're not.
That's it.
You're not getting out of this. And our third honorable mention is going to be Quarantine.
Yes.
Which is an American remake of a Spanish film.
Yes.
Called
so if you're not a big fan of Spanish films, I don't know why, go ahead and watch the American one. It's pretty much the same thing. Like
it is.
They copied it paste for paste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Copy paste. That was pretty much it. It's a horror film. I don't know. It's pretty intense. It's
very intense.
It's not for everybody.
It starts out very relaxed because it's about a news presenter. I think she presents a show called After Hours. Or
she's
something like
reporting.
That.
I think she's reporting on a fire department or something. Then they get called in. Apparently, there's this crazy woman in this apartment building. So she goes with them to, basically film what's happening.
Yeah.
And then they all get quarantined by the government in this building. As things start to unravel, people start getting infected with this kind of rabies-like virus, and they start going crazy, and they start attacking each other, and they all go crazy.
It's a very intense film, and there's a few jump scares because it's a found footage.
Yeah, it's a found footage filming style, so it's very shaky. It's very
There's a lot of
talk to the camera.
There's a lot of handheld shots. Well, most of it's handheld stuff anyway, but. At the end especially, I found it quite suspenseful when they're using the infrared light on the camera to try and find somebody in the attic.
Yeah, like that night vision kind
of. The night vision sort of stuff, and you can only see like a circle of light. It's a small little pinprick of light that they're throwing around the room, and then it's just jump scares, which, I mean, they're well crafted and they're awesome.
I mean, they're done all right. There's a lot of jump scares are very, you can tell it's coming. The music's building. Now there's no music. It's really quiet, and the camera's panning to the right. Oh, now it's panning to the left. It's
the character is trapped in the frame.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, but they're done pretty well in some of the places in the film.
I think so.
It's pretty good.
I think it was pretty good. But that really concludes our second episode of Subject.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. You made it to the end, or you skipped to the end.
Yeah, I know.
Either way.
Some of those people that skip to the end, man, you got to skip back and listen to that first half. It was pretty good.
Just skip every 10 seconds till you hear something you want to listen to.
Yeah. I feel like that might be what happens. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for participating.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, on the... on
Podbean.
Podbean.
Can't believe you forgot the website already. Podbean is what we're using to mainly put out our new episodes. You'll find probably more archived ones on YouTube. It's probably going to be easier for people to find stuff on YouTube. So if you want to, subscribe, follow us.
All three are very interactive, so feel free to leave comments. We're going to read all the comments. If you want to leave something that's kind of like bullying, go for it. I'll just get Chris to read it all, and he can take all the abuse. That's perfectly fine.
Wow, thank you. I really appreciate you putting
He'll
me
just
out
bring
there.
all the good news to me. So
we'll swap roles eventually.
I don't think we will.
All right, well, this is us signing off. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your day. Be good people.
And flatten the curve.
Flatten the curve. Stay safe.
Stay safe.